Missouri Life Television is sponsored in part by the Missouri Beef Industry Council, which is supported by Missouri beef producers who are dedicated to keeping a strong and viable beef industry in Missouri. These beef producers support education and research and share information with consumers in the industry. You can find healthy beef recipes and more information at mobeef.org.
On this episode of Missouri Life, we're on the Mother Road in Pulaski County, where we're cruising through highway history, eating a home-cooked meal in Nonas Kitchen, and saluting our nation's military. All that and more coming up next on Missouri Life. Production support is provided by Missouri Life magazine and by viewers like you. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Missouri Life. I'm your host, Meredith Haynes. It has been called the Will Rogers Highway, the Great Diagonal Way, Main Street of America, uniting 2,448 miles of some of America's most scenic roads, linking remote, rural populations with destinations like Chicago and Los Angeles. Route 66 got its designation from Congress in 1926. Of Missouri's 300 miles, Pulaski County contains 33 original miles of this iconic Mother Road. So let's get our journey of discovery started and get our kicks on Route 66. No matter where you are, if you have any love for this country, you know of Route 66. Songs have been written about it. What was it about that? How did it change culture in a neighborhood like this?
It was really just a road and business opportunity. But for Pulaski County, and particularly for Waynesville, it was that tourism that people associated with the road.
As tourism boomed along Route 66, it didn't take long for Pulaski County to become a destination for hunting and recreation on the Gasconade, Rubidoux, and Big Piney rivers. Then U.S. involvement in World War II loomed on the horizon, and the military sought out suitable sites for new training facilities for a growing army. Ample water resources, plenty of government land, and a paved highway made Pulaski County the perfect choice. Construction on Fort Leonard Wood began in January 1941. It finished in only 4 months. An influx of 32,000 workers laid a 20-mile railroad spur and raised 1,600 buildings. Compounded by the fact that Waynesville was the only nearby weekend destination for soldiers, traffic congestion was a colossal problem. The solution included turning a section of Route 66 into 4 lanes.
You see, the way we built roads up to this time is that you followed the landscape. We didn't alter the landscape. We followed the landscape. So you built a road on a ridge, or you followed a valley, that had maybe a creek in it. Well, the big thing about this is that old Route 66, coming from the east, went around this big hill called Hooker Hill. It went around the end of that hill, and then went then crossed the Big Piney River at a little hamlet called Devil's Elbow. Well, what the engineers decided to do, they were going to alter the landscape. And so they decided to cut through that big hill and make it a straight shot. And that big cut became known as Hooker Cut. And it was 92 feet from the top down to the road bed. And it was known as the deepest road cut in the United States, at that time. And there were a couple of innovations on that road construction of Route 66. First of all, the big rock cut. We had not done that before. And what they did with that is up 30, back 15, up 30, back 15, so that if you had loose rock, and this was limestone, it would loosen up, it would fall down and hit the terrace below it. But also, it was divided. It had a median. That was the first divided Canadian in the state. They also did a lot with the water drainage too. The road had a curb, and so the curb then would channel rainwater, into little gutters,
Right.
and then into the box culverts. So a lot of innovations in terms of road construction.
Just north of Route 66 is the St. Robert Military Tribute. In addition to this M60 tank, you'll see an ever-growing wall of painted boulders honoring the strong and dedicated men and women serving in the military. Located in southern Pulaski County is Fort Leonard Wood. What began as a basic training facility during World War II has grown and is now home as the Maneuver Support Center of Excellence. It has 3 U.S. Army regimental schools, and it trains about 80,000 military and civilians each year. And though it sits in the heart of the Mark Twain National Forest, it is these soldiers who are its greatest resource.
I'm from Crocker, Missouri. It's a small town, no stoplights, probably about 12 miles due north of Fort Leonard Wood. I joined the military. It was from a military family. My dad was a retired command sergeant major, and that's always intrigued me. It's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I mean, I was no stranger to the base growing up. I come here quite often. I would run with my dad sometimes and visited the pools and the gymnasiums. So I was no stranger to Fort Leonard Wood well before I came in the military.
I'm from Waynesville, Missouri. I grew up in the military in an Army family, but didn't really give a lot of thought to joining the Army until kind of late in my college application process, and decided to do it there late in the fall of 2004, deciding to join. I think what drove me to it is just the experience I had growing up in it, seeing the families and the teams that were created, the experiences that I had just as a child growing up in different locations. And then of course there's, I think for anybody that joins the military, an inner drive of patriotism and selfless service, and a combination of those things. Going back, my father was in the military for 26 years. His brother served in Vietnam, and then my father's father and his 5 brothers all served in World War II. Immigrants from Italy, serving in World War II from New York State. So there's definitely a history, lineage of that in our family.
Originally, I'm from Nicaragua. My father used to work for the government back in 1979 with the revolution in Nicaragua with the Sandinistas. It was a civil war. So my family has to get out of that country. So we come over here with political asylum. I went to school for my nursing. I got a job at the VA hospital. And every time we get a new veteran, it's a different experience. It was like I want to see actually what they were living for. And all these stories that I saw for World War II veterans to Vietnam veterans. So it's something that I was like, kind of excite me. One of the patients say, if I can make a difference, say you have to join the service. He always, every day when I see him, he always say, you need to go, you need to join the service. You will make a great soldier and you can make a difference. So in memory of him, Mr. Sistrom, I joined the service.
Once I got in the military, I kind of learned the hierarchy and how things worked, and the camaraderie and the brotherhood that came along with it was just something that always intrigued me, and it's a brotherhood that I can't really explain. I guess I put into words, but it's awesome. It's
really taught me everything because of having been in, this is the only life I know. But I think on a day-to-day basis too, that changes based off of what you learn, the experiences you have that day. But the things that when I go home and or on the weekends that I really hang my hat on, these ideas of being humble, of listening, being patient, these are all things that are tested every day. I mean, they are in many jobs. But those things are important. And then just the importance of people, how much they matter. It's just my entire outlook, I think, has been tested and shaped by it.
Our next stop on Route 66 has been on the National Register of Historic Places since 1980. Let's head inside and find out more.
This was built before the Civil War in the 1850s by a gentleman by the name of William Walton McDonald. Today it's a 10-room house museum, but it started off as 2 one-room log cabins. We're setting in what was known as the tavern. This is where the passengers would come in and rest while the horses were being changed, particularly if you were coming from east to west, because you had to come out of the big piney valley and a very tough topography. In 1862, the Union Army came into Waynesville under the command of Colonel Albert Siegel, just pretty much took over the town, commandeered McDonald's building, used this for a hospital for the fort that they built on the hill overlooking town.
A few years after the Civil War, the railroad arrived in northern Pulaski County. The stagecoach business declined and the old stop was sold.
And then it became known in the 30s as the Tourist Hotel and served tourists on Route 66 and soldiers from Fort Leonard Wood. It's been here for soldiers in the Civil War, and it's been here for soldiers in World War II, and it's been here for soldiers in Korea, and it was here for soldiers in the early days of Vietnam.
Why is preserving history and getting those stories and passing those stories on, why is it so important?
You know, history, that's the word story in history. It's our story. And you have to keep passing it, along.
Just a short walk around the block puts us at the Route 66 Courthouse Museum, one of only 2 period courthouses along the Mother Road in Missouri, used by the Pulaski County government until 1990. It's now open for tours for historic displays, such as a military room exhibit and one dedicated to the Fort Leonard Wood namesake.
Thanks, Meredith. Now we're at Nonas Kitchen, a restaurant housed in one of the oldest buildings in historic downtown Waynesville.
I just love the idea of being downtown. I loved the idea of having something historical and on Route 66. And then just always loved cooking, always loved being in the kitchen. It was definitely a passion of mine. I went ahead and just took a couple months, talked to family, and decided it was time for us to kind of make a move and invest in downtown Waynesville and being on the square with the courthouse. It was just definitely, it was kind of all the things that we wanted to make it happen really kind of came together for this. We come in every morning, my husband and myself, and we prep. We do all of our vegetables daily in the restaurant. I'm still very much at the kitchen. I've tried to come out a little bit, but it's really hard for me to step away from that space. I'm very comfortable in there. Not so comfortable coming out front all the time. You know, I'd rather be in the back and maintain that quality and level of, what we expect to put out. But definitely, my daughter works here. She's up in the front. My son washes dishes. My husband's here with me. So the girls that we work that have their family too. I think it's funny when people realize how small the kitchen is. It was a house, so we're in the master bedroom right now, and then the dining room is the living room, and then the dining room area of the house is the cash register and bakery area. The kitchen is a galley-style, tiny little kitchen, and the stove is a regular house stove. We do have a turbo chef that cooks our pizzas and stuff, but it is just a very small space, and we sometimes have 3 people in there, which could get totally crazy, but most of the times just 2. And it's, I think, challenging for us because we would love to have a larger space, but at the same time, we really don't have any room to expand as we're maxed out the way that it is. And we have the patio, which allows extra seating, which is great, but it's small and it's quaint and it's charming, I think, but it's definitely, there's many challenges when you're trying to swing open doors and pass people, and it just gets kind of crazy back there for sure. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and then I was a working mom for 10 years. And I think both of those kind of inspired the menu to let somebody plan, so you can kind of see, okay, we have a menu for a month, and then a working mom might say, oh, I'm gonna go get dinner at Nona's 3 nights a week. And they circle the calendar, put it on the refrigerator, and so we're kind of always there in the back of their mind as a place that they can come and get a home-cooked meal, fresh, made that day from scratch. And if they didn't have the time to do it, or if they just didn't want to do it because they chose to do other things instead of being in the kitchen, we do that for them. So I just think that was, for me, having a schedule helped us kind of get into people's homes and let them know that we were an option as far as something besides fast food or something besides a pizza delivery.
In the early days of Route 66, the road was unpaved through Pulaski County, and the economy was depressed. Residents saw an opportunity for growth, providing services to weary travelers. Families set up craft stands and drive-through shops alongside the road. Local tourism on the Main Street of America was born. Today, Eclectic Originals is keeping that tradition alive.
I've always loved craft fairs and things like that, handmade, homemade products and whatnot. And I thought, you know, it'd be fun if you just didn't have to do it at Christmas and go to a craft fair. I could have it all year round and just open a store, a gift shop that showed the talent in the area with all handmade, homegrown items in the store. And it's just important to me to get the local vendors and have that relationship with them and just display their stuff proudly. So how I came to be at this location is my friend Bob Hathaway owns Odyssey Scuba, and I'm one of his instructors, and this room here was part of that store. And I said, hey, I want to do this idea. I like handmade, homemade things. We kind of need that destination for people to come to. What can we do? And he's like, well, let's do this. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, and very excited that this success it's become, and it looks like I'm going to make it. So. You know, just giving the people that are tourists and coming through town, a lot of motorcycle groups, so they want that small little item that's locally made. And we do have handmade stuff that has Route 66. We sell different things like plaques and these little travel boxes. Back in the day, they used to have these little travel kits that they put kids' games in and stuff, and then closed it up. It stayed in the car. So I've sold those in the past. I've got pens that say Route 66 that were hand-turned by Dan with the DB Woodworks. And so a lot of things that people can get that are locally made, part of this town, part of the heritage of this town that's not made overseas.
Well, growing up, I kind of helped out a friend of mine. His house had burnt, so I helped him and his dad re-gut it and redo it up, and I got into it. And then in high school, I took a class, my junior and senior year, for building construction, and just kind of played around here and there. And then once I got injured and retired from the military, I found a school up in Rolla, and I went up there for 2 years and did cabinet making, and then it just evolved from there, more or less. Each artist's stuff that's in her store is basically handmade. So I think you're buying something that some person has sat down and put a lot of, hard work, sweat, blood, tears sometimes, into something where it could have been manufactured in Taiwan, China, or overseas, or even somewhere here in a factory in the US. Somebody actually used their 2 hands somehow, some way to make that. And I think that it's just more sentimental and more memorable. It was made from somebody here in Pulaski County, especially from her store. So I think that means something not only to the person who bought it, but to us who made it. That it just goes to show that someone was interested in our items and our product. And it's, I mean, sometimes you can't describe it,
Housed at the theater on the downtown square in Waynesville, the Pulaski Fine Arts Association brings live theater to the area.
Community theaters have an average life of about 4.5 years. They start 4.5, the people are burned out, nobody new comes in, and it quits. We've been going now, this is going to be our 21st year. Every community needs, I think, some kind of an art, a place to go, something besides just facts and numbers and things. The human condition is under a microscope with the arts. And it's the kind of microscope the human condition benefits from looking through.
And it's also a culture piece. It gives us an opportunity to bring in education to our audience members about history and literature and just like the human condition, you know, on stage, and it allows that for our community.
My husband's active duty military, and we lived in Germany for 6 years. And when we came back in 2009, one of my first things that I did was come and watch a play here, and I fell in love. This is a family passion of ours, and we also belong to the PFAA family, because once you are here and that bug has bitten you, you're just welcomed into the family, and it's a large family, and it's always growing. It's perfect.
We get a lot of very positive feedback here. People who return repeatedly to watch even the same show. We do sell season tickets. We have season ticket holders who buy tickets every year because they want to be a part of what we're doing. Even those who aren't wanting to be involved as far as being a volunteer here really look forward to our upcoming season. What are you guys going to be doing next? Can I bring my kids? Can I bring family from out of town? They help advertise for us. They're willing to put up posters. We also have advertising in our programs. Our community the businesses like to be supportive and advertise in our programs. And we do a lot of partnership things. Anytime anything goes on downtown, like Old Settlers Day, or we have Freedom Fest coming up, we are usually a part of that and provide things like face painting and things like that to the community.
For a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, we actually performed in elementary schools and different venues. And then this building became available, and a very community-focused lady by the name of Virgie Mahan had this building, and she had kind of been working along in the background. She had helped with some of the producing and some of the background as this organization grew. This building became available, and so this became the home of PFAA, and the name Theater on the Square was coined at that point in time.
Acting here, it's small, but when you step up on stage and those lights come up and you see the crowd, it's huge. You know, like just the feeling that you get whenever you get to escape who you are for a couple hours a day to be someone else is crazy.
This is by far the biggest cast that I've ever been involved with, and I'm used to acting with people that are only my age, so having a bunch of little kids, that's definitely been something new to, act with them, but it's also been helpful because, you learn to really work together as a team when you have such a big cast.
I think since we're all volunteers, we're genuinely here to help each other, and so the older people kind of help guide the kids, and then the kids keep the adults on track, and we all just work together as a team. It's really cool.
It is a place that anyone can come to. I had no real connection to it myself. We just thought we would give it a try, and it was a lark the first time. And it grows on you as well as grows something in you. It's a great deal for anyone to walk into. There's a lot of dedication to it. There's a lot that goes into 8 or 9 weeks of production. But it helps. It's a lot of fun, and it's a thing that anyone can get involved with, should they let themselves try.
Our final stop on historic Route 66 is the Trail of Tears Memorial, an interpretive trail. It's where the Cherokee Nation camped and forged the Rubidoux River on their tragic journey 180 years ago. The struggles they endured are depicted on storyboards along a 1-mile hiking trail. We hope we've engaged you on this drive down the Mother Road, learning about the craftsmanship, people, flavor, and history of Pulaski County. For everyone at KMOS TV, Missouri Life Magazine, and myself, thanks for watching. More information is available on social media or online at KMOS.org. Production support is provided by Missouri Life Magazine. Missouri Life Magazine explores and celebrates the people, places, history, and destinations that make our state unique. Subscription information for Missouri Life Magazine can be found online at MissouriLife.com. And by viewers like you, thank you.
Missouri Life Television is sponsored in part by the Missouri Beef Industry Council, which is supported by Missouri beef producers who are dedicated to keeping a strong and viable beef industry in Missouri. These beef producers support education and research and share information with consumers in the industry. You can find healthy beef recipes and more information at mobeef.org.